Thank you, thank you. Thank you, honestly, thank you so much for coming out. This is actually pretty incredible that so many people have come out. Like, I didn't think that anybody would actually come, you know, because it's just little old me that put the show on with a few friends. So, you know, I thought I'd put this on really just to kind of, just as something for me to do, something different. You know, I'm kind of seen in this one sort of light where I run around with a camera with my friends and put things on the internet and whatever else. And it's more, there's more to me and there's more to my story and more to my background that I think is important for people to sort of, to share with me, you know, because it's part of who I am, and a lot of people have put a lot of faith and a lot of trust into me and what I'm saying. And, you know, I've made mistakes. I've made mistakes and I'll keep making mistakes, and, you know, I hit bumps, but I keep trying, and that's sort of, you know, what I've always been about is just keep trying and trying and trying, and to take myself out of that comfort zone where, you know, people do this all the time where they get themselves into a routine, and I'm still a prime example of this. I get myself into a routine and I do the same things over and over and over again, and you never challenge yourself. And that's why you know, one of the other reasons as to why I decided, let's do this. It's something that's completely out of my comfort zone. You know, I can't hide behind a camera or whatever else. You know, I'm kind of here at sort of your mercy, and, you know, I'm going to open it up and ask a few questions, and open it up to get a few questions off you, sorry. And hopefully, you know, I'll give people a bit more of an insight into who I am, what I do, and why I do what I do. You know, it's not been an easy sort of 34 years. You know, it's been a really hard 34 years. And I try not to cry about it. I try not to cry about what's gone on and whatever else. I've brought, excuse me, I've brought the majority of it on myself. You know, my actions and my, you know, the things that I do have brought bad things around. And, you know, I kind of have to, you have to learn from that. You have to learn from everything that you do. And that's what I try and do every single day of my life. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, you know, my problem with drugs and whatever else, you know, that's a constant battle. And I struggle every day with my issues. But, you know, whether people like me or they don't like me, people are talking about something. People are talking about something they weren't talking about before. And I played a part in that. And I'm quite proud of that I've come from being this person that was sort of at the bottom of the pile, prison, drugs, crime, you know, in and out of the police station every other day, to sort of getting somewhere where I'm happier with myself as a person. So what I'm going to do is, what I'll do is I'll open it up. If people want to bang their hands up, if you keep it to one question at a time. If I've answered the question in a roundabout way, you know, just try and think of another one, because it saves me having to go over the same things again, because, you know, I do tend to ramble like I'm doing now, and I try and give a full picture of everything without sort of missing bits out. So sometimes I end up covering a question that hasn't been asked yet. So, you know, so if anyone who wants to start with the proceedings today? Is anybody here want to be brave enough to stick their hand up? Come on, there's got to be somebody. Belinda. Hello. How are you? Good.
I've got a few questions.
I know, yeah, you did say. But it looks like nobody else has got them, so you might have the floor for the whole of the proceedings.
The first one I've written down.
Yeah.
When you legally changed your name,
Yeah.
what made you choose Stinson Hunter? Maybe Hunter because of the paedophile hunter, but what does Stinson mean?
Right. I try and avoid this one, but I'm kind of on the spot now.
Oh.
Hunter, because of stuff, I used to play games and annoy people in games, and I was called Mr. Hunter. Like, basically I was hunting for idiots that I could make angry or swear at me or whatever in these games. And it was during this period where I was having a conversation with a friend about sort of doing something serious, which then became the paedophile hunting stuff. And I said to him, I need a name, I need a first name, I need something that people can kind of be like, this character, this person, you know, instead of Mr. something, it's a full name. And I was watching, I don't know if anyone's ever seen this show, I was watching How I Met Your Mother, and I identified quite a lot with a character called Barney Stinson. And that's basically what happened. I just thought, Stinson Hunter, that's a name that I think people might remember. It's a name that I think that if I'm doing something, if I do something with this idea that I've got, which became the paedophile hunting thing, if I've got a name that people can identify with, it's they say it and they know what it is straight away. And I think that that was sort of subconsciously, I was creating the brand, if you will, of what this became, where people could identify with something, they had somebody to identify with. And, you know, I didn't like my old name. My old name was the old me, and it was sort of a getting rid of that past, you know, because my past isn't, isn't exactly the greatest of pasts, and Kieran Parsons is kind of the old me. There's still bits of him left creeping about, but I have to fight it, you know. But Stinson Hunter is the person that I kind of always wanted to be, but didn't know how to be. Like, I always wanted to be a good person, always wanted to help people and not hurt people and things like that. And with my past life, that's what was associated with that. People hear Kieran Parsons, even I hear that name and I'm like, oh, you know, it holds so many bad sort of memories for me. So the name was quite important, and because I identified with that character from that TV show through sort of issues with parents or, you know, relationship issues, commitment issues, mainly the commitment thing, and scared of being attached to somebody and being reliant on somebody, and I identified with that character a lot. So that's where the name Stinson Hunter came from. So yeah, I hope that answers. Is there anybody else got anything, or is it going to be Belinda or not? Hello. Hi. Pardon?
Your old team?
Have they all gone? Yeah, well, yeah. Well, what happened with, as those that most of you might know, that I had a team of guys that worked with me. There was Stubbsy, there was Grime, and then there was Kev, who's over there, security. Like, he was the guy that you see in the Paedophile Hunter sort of flexing a little bit. You know what I mean? So yeah, what happened was there was a hate group. Sure, some of you know. There was one of the original hate groups that were about, and it was kind of, there was a copycat group. They're still floating about now, but there was a copycat group, and what they were doing was they were taking pictures of Stubbsy, taking pictures of his kids, following him around and this, that and the other. At one point they got somebody to come to the hospital after I'd got run over by the guy that I tried to meet a kid. They got someone to come to the hospital to take pictures of me while I was laid up, 2 bust ankles, massive thing in my head. And, sorry, whoops. I did that in court when I was giving evidence once. The judge weren't very happy with me. So what happened was with Stubbsy, his partner was she was getting really annoyed. I don't think she particularly liked me very much, which I can rub people up the wrong way. It's understandable. I am that kind of person. I'm quite blunt. I don't mean to be, you know, I'm never rude intentionally, but I do come across like it sometimes. And she was unhappy about it anyway. Like, she didn't really know what was going on. And when all this hate started and people threatened to post his address and things like that, Stubbsy was kind of like, I've got to go. And he quit before the film, like a year before the film. Like, he was done. Like, he just did the filler interviews, but he was out. But then you had Grime, who was my camera guy, and we kind of drifted apart. Like, him and I had these big ideas for everything. You know, I've still got them ideas, and I'm trying to pull them together now. But with Grime, he had a new partner and a kid on the way and things like that. And it just, I needed somebody like me that hasn't got those sort of commitments that I don't sort of have anybody to answer to. I do my own thing. And, you know, if people don't like it, then I'm not hurting anybody. They can just sort of, you know, just crack on. But with Grime, I think we spent so much time together. Like, we lived together. We had a house together for a year. So preparing for the Paedophile Hunter coming out, we spent every day together trying to work, but he was more sort of bothered about his girlfriend, which is understandable. I obviously got a little bit jealous about the relationship between him and his girlfriend. I felt like she was taking him away from me because of all these ideas that we had. I didn't think I could do these things that I wanted to do on my own. So Grime kind of, I just had come to the point where I said to him, it was just after the film, I says, look mate, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to try and find a new group of people and push this in another direction, but with, you know, you can't be there because you're holding me back. You know, you're holding me back from what I want to do. And, you know, unfortunately, even sort of parting ways with him, a lot of stuff got held back. I had a lot of stuff going on last year, but it's sort of this year is the year when I'm sort of, everything seems to be picking up again, you know. So yeah, that's sort of, we're still friends. I mean, I don't speak to Grime as much, you know, he's sort of, there's a thing with him and I, there's a massive age gap, there's like 10 years between us, so he's 23, 24, I'm 34. And you know, at that age, you grow apart from people, you're a different, one year you're this person, next minute, the year and after, you're another person, you know. And I think that's just natural. So, I mean, I've got nothing really bad to say about him, other than Grant was a bit lazy, but I said that to him all the time, you know. But I've got nothing but love for them all. They're all sort of, everyone, like, that's, you know, look, Kev's here now, he's the one that was, he was there, he's sort of, I'm still friends with them all, you know. It was, yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Who's next then? I saw someone over there, yes.
With like the increased visibility of you and what you do, and other people doing the same thing, like different Facebook groups doing the same thing, why do you think men still take this sort of really unrealistic risk of chatting to kids,
Yeah.
and then even going as far as, you know, going to their houses where their parents aren't there, which is something that, you know, in this heightened time of like worry about kids and pedophiles and stuff, that,
Yeah.
you know, it's an extreme risk for them to take. Why do you think they're still taking that risk even though you're here doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I think they do it. I think with this sort of area of work, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know how best to describe what this is, this thing. I think the people that do it and still get caught doing it are the people that haven't really heard about what goes on. Because I mean, it's quite big. I mean, sort of, it's everywhere, but not everybody has got the finger on the pulse. So you've got that part of it. But also, I think it's the part of, you know, for instance, Lee Middleton, he was in the paedophile hunter, he got 3 years for trying to meet a 14-year-old girl. After that, after I caught him, first time I caught him on camera, I caught him again another 3 times. Not meeting up, but talking to girls. And I think that sometimes it's a case of they don't think that they'll get caught. It's like when you get drink drivers, oh, I don't think I'll get caught. Or when you get people anyone doing anything, oh, it won't be me, I won't get caught. There's only one of them, or one paedophile hunter or whatever. And then you've got sort of all these other people. What are the odds that it's going to be Stinson hunter or sort of a copycat or whatever? And also, I think that when the Paedophile Hunter came out, when the documentary came out on Channel 4, it was a perfect opportunity to open up a dialogue with the government, for the government to actually start publicly speaking about what's going on, and higher ups speaking about what's going on. But what I think happened was they got a bit scared of the subject and kind of just didn't want to talk about it, which made what I was doing, kind of dampened it a little bit, you know, because the whole purpose of why I did this, it wasn't to get people arrested, it wasn't to get people locked up, it was purely to get the video, put it online, shock people, get people to talk about it. The convictions came after when the police contacted me and were like, oh, we would like you to hand the information into the police. And I was like, okay, then I'll do that, you know, I'll be the good boy and do that. But originally it was just about being as controversial, as shocking as possible, get people sort of like, ooh, what's going on here? And I just think that now, people just think they can get away with it. Like, it's always been the same. I think that there needs to be something there. There needs to be a massive crackdown. There needs to be a massive campaign or something. You know, it's all well and good. I did my thing. I got people talking. And the people that needed to do something about it, the whole purpose of why I did it, the whole reason why I ended up doing the film with with Amos Pictures, was so the red tape could be lifted from the police, that the police could have more powers. You know, I could get someone that I was talking to and I could get them arrested, I could get them charged and then bailed or remanded within 24 hours. Whereas when the police do it, they take months and months, and that isn't their fault. I've never been critical of the police per se. I've been critical of the police when they've slagged me off. That's when I've had the issue with the police. That's the only time I've responded. My goal was always to get the police this funding, to get this red tape lifted that people like me and other people that have started doing this don't have, because we're just normal citizens that can run around and do these things. So I think that it's sort of, there needs to be a lot more done in the back end of online sort of security, i.e. when people sign up to something. I'm not saying that put all your personal information in, but at least something where if something happens that person could be tracked. A debit card, whatever, it doesn't charge you or anything, but a debit card that can be verified. I don't know, a driving license, something where people can, if someone reports the profile for abuse, someone reports that profile for whatever, they've got a direct link to who is doing that. But no one seems to do anything. No one seems to care enough to do something, you know, which is kind of why I'm working on a few little projects at the minute. You know, I've got a few things, I'm talking to a few people, TV people, about taking this to the next sort of stage, and hopefully this time people will actually start pushing for things to change. I mean, things have changed, things have happened, I think there was a unit set up in Staffordshire, and that was as a result of sort of people like me shouting their mouths off and causing a little bit of chaos. And that's the sort of things that I want to see. I want to see these different divisions of the police getting more than what they're given, because they get these units set up. They get these units set up for child safety, and then all of a sudden this one member of staff will be moved to the desk, this other member of staff will be moved over here. Before you know it, there's no one left in that department, and where's all that money gone that's been pumped into that department? It's gone. It's all gone. And it makes me really sad that that happens. It makes me really sad that people like the government haven't done enough when they could have done a lot more than what they have. I hope that answers your question. I don't know if it. So yeah, thank you. Has anybody else got anything they want to ask? Yes, mate. Hi.
What's your interaction like with police now that you've settled into your role? Are they supportive?
I don't. Well, the thing is, I don't do what I did. Obviously, with the paedophile hunter and everything, I don't run around doing that anymore. Like, I'm sort of moving in a different direction. Because obviously, the purpose of this, like I said earlier, was I want people to talk about it. And for me, if I keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, it becomes sanitised, and people, oh, Stinson's put another video up, have you seen it? And nobody's watching it, nobody shares it, nobody talks about it, and so on and so forth. The police are still in touch. They still sort of talk to me and want, there's still cases going to court from 3 years ago, you know. The relationship kind of, they left me alone. Once they realised that I wasn't lying about when the paedophile hunter documentary, once they realised that I hadn't been lying the whole time, that this was a real thing, they didn't believe a word I was saying. I was trying to help them. I was saying, look, play ball, because this is coming out. No, yeah, whatever, Stinson, we don't believe you. But yeah, apparently I was right and they were wrong. And that's when they started to get a load more old cases brought forward and started sort of trying to get these cases that they'd ignored and not done anything with. This, oh, can you do these statements? And I was like, I don't remember what happened with this. This was like 3 years ago, man. I don't remember what happened 5 minutes ago. Like, you're asking me something that I did X, Y, and Z ago. But I mean, the police were weird, because it was always publicly in the press. The police would be like, we hate you, stop doing this, we're going to threaten you with legal stuff, and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, that's a contradiction to what you have said to me behind the door when I come to give the evidence in, or when you're talking to me, you're patting me on the back and saying, well done. I get officers in the street saying, well done, pat on the back, good lad. But then you've got your higher ups that don't know what's going on. They haven't got the finger on the pulse, and they're just like, vigilante, you must stop because you're doing this. And I've had 50 plus convictions. You know, when they sent a letter saying I hadn't had any convictions, I'd already had 6 or something at that point. You know, I understand why they've been like it. I totally get it. I totally get why they can't condone what I do, because it makes them look bad. And I don't want them to look bad. I don't want the police to look bad. I don't want anyone to look bad. I just want people to get the the resources and the money and the staff and everything else. If they've not got that, then people like me have to shout their mouths off and have to do this and that, the other. Because for me, it was like I said earlier. I said it in an interview a couple of times. You get these ideas and you sit around and you don't do anything. Oh, this should be changed, and no one ever does anything, you know. And I think that I had to go against the grain with the police to get as many people talking and to get as much interest in what I was trying to say. You know, controversy is the greatest form of sort of promotion in a way, you know, and I hit the nail on the head with it, and because I wanted people to talk about it, I wanted people to look at what was going on. You know, Stubbsy, for instance, the guy that used to help me, he didn't know me from Adam. I didn't know anybody that worked with me, you know, on the film. I didn't know anybody till about a month before we started making it. I was doing it on my own. But Stubbsy had checked his kid's Facebook and seen all these messages off guys and da-da-da-da, and that's why he got involved. Grime got involved because he had an interest in editing and filming and stuff like that. So, but the police, they're all right, really. You know, I ain't got a problem with them. They're doing their job. They've got to do what they've got to be seen to be doing the right thing, I suppose. But I hold no malice towards them, and I hope that someone actually gives them what they need, which is the funding and the red tape lifted. So yeah, thanks for your question. Anybody else got anything? Anybody? Hi, how are you?
Good. What kind of advice would you give somebody else who wants to do what you do?
Don't do it. I'm like, seriously, I'm against anybody sort of doing it. The reasons why, there's many reasons why, but the experiences I've had, it's sort of had an amazing effect on my life in terms of confidence and self-belief, and the fact that if you put your mind to something, you can do absolutely anything that you want. But my experience with people that have copied what I do, i.e. a group that come around just after I started getting attention in the media, who that same group I mentioned earlier that would come around taking pictures and this, that and the other. And for me, there's a lot of people that, from what I see, it's sort of, they want to do it for a bit of fun. And it's exactly the same things that I say. And it doesn't have any heart. And if you're not doing something for the right reason, it's all well and good. People can say, yeah, but they're catching paedophiles or whatever. But if you're not doing something for the right reasons, if you're not passionate about something, then for me, you shouldn't be doing it. You should always be 100% passionate, not just because you can, you know, get on the telly box or you can make a few quid, you know. I mean, I turned down money to make the documentary, but I know other groups have been trying to get documentaries made, trying to make a bit of money and things like that. And I understand why, but it's literally sort of trying to fast track the way I went through everything. And I kind of went out there and I had to put up with all the abuse from the police and, you know, official people and whatever else. And then you've got groups that come in. When I've gone against the grain, I've purposely gone against the grain, what the police are saying, you know, don't do this, don't do that. Then you've got some groups that come around and they're like, oh yeah, we'll do what the police say, we'll jump through the police's hoops. That isn't helping matters. When you start playing the police's game, you're enabling that red tape, you're enabling those things that I've been spending the last few years trying to get taken away. If people were doing it for the reasons that were, there was passion and there was heart, and it didn't just sound like an echo of me, then I'd probably be all for it. But there's nothing. No, it's either one extreme to the other. It's either someone going up there and there's mumbling, you can't really understand what they're saying, or they're beating the shit out of people. You know, the guys in Wigan, they beat the shit out of someone. Now, a lot of people would be like, oh yes, Nance got beaten up. But for me, I'm against that. I don't want that. Like, that isn't sending out the message that I'm trying to send out. I'm trying to send out a message that there's something serious going online and people need to actually talk about it, as opposed to just knee-jerk reaction, let's beat people up and let's sort of hang these people. You know, I understand why people are like that. I understand that, but that's not something that I am particularly comfortable with. I'm not particularly comfortable with, you know, the aggression on these people. When I first started, there was I started in Chester. The first one I ever did was in Chester, right? I'd come up with the idea, and my mate lived in Chester. I thought, right, it's a good idea, I'll go there, it's easier for me to get the train there. And the first couple that I did 2 in Chester, then I did another 2 in Birmingham. This was in 2012. And I was quite, not aggressive, but I was a bit gobby, and I was a bit rude, and I was a bit cheeky. And I thought, that's the way to be. I need to humiliate these people. I need to make these people feel like they're nothing, that there's absolutely, they can't get any lower. But I realised that that isn't the way to talk to people. Like, regardless of what they've done, or regardless of what you think of that person, if you want that person to see what they've done, if you, like I say, you hold the mirror up, show the, like, you know, you hold the mirror up and say, look, this is you, sort of thing. If I want that person to listen to me, me saying to him, you're a piece of shit, you're dirty, you're a nonce, you're this, you're that, doesn't help, doesn't do anything. But if you sat there talking to them, quietly, polite, I think it gets to them more. And that goes back to sort of another reason why I don't like copycats. I just don't like the aggression. I don't like the, if you're doing it, do it to get the message out there. It's not about catching people. It's not about that. We shouldn't have to do this. This is what the police are for. That's their jobs. The police's jobs are to catch these guys. You know, yeah, I know to a degree I've gone out and done their jobs for them. But it was purely, like I say, to get this tape lifted, get people talking, get them some money, and hopefully force change. But, you know, I've been out of the game for, you know, I stopped sort of last year. Because it got a bit too much for me, you know, to be honest with you. Like, I have all these big plans, and I've still got these big plans, and I'm pushing them even further. You know, the director from the Paedophile who was supposed to be here today, I've been talking to him about a few ideas, hopefully trying to get something else out. He'll probably shoot me for saying that, but I don't really care. He's not here to tell me off. So, and I'm still trying to push through with them ideas, but it takes its toll, you know, and the pressure of having to sort of.
Have you ever tried to get them some help?
Get these people that I've caught. No, I don't think that's my job. I don't think this is my job, but I think that's not my sort of, that's them to do. I've just held the mirror up and been like, look, man, this is what you've done. You know, you'll get arrested for it. You go seek help. If you think you've done wrong, I can't help these people. I haven't got the skills to help these people. I'm just a guy that found something and to a degree exploited it just to get people talking, you know. So if these people want help, I'm all for them getting help, but I'm not the guy that can help them. I'm not emotionally or equipped education-wise to help these people. But I'd like them to get help, whether it's locked up forever like they do in America, you know, they lock them up in that place, or whatever else. But I'm certainly against anything negative happening to them. So yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Hi. It's okay.
Although it's wrong, and that would probably be an answer, but why are you so 100% passionate about what you do?
Why am I so passionate about it?
Yeah, although I know it's wrong,
Yeah.
what people would say is this is wrong, it shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Is there another reason as to why you decided to go into it and why you're so passionate about it?
Aside the obvious, aside that, the reason sort of why I think that I'm so passionate about this, or passionate about the other little things I'm working on, is as a kid, sorry, I'm a drink. As a kid, I never really had any ambition. I never had any goals. I never had any sort of, I didn't want to be anybody. I wanted to be a train driver, right? I wanted to be a train driver, but I'm colourblind, so I couldn't be a train driver. It broke my heart. So I thought, you know what, I'll become a scumbag. And it's true. Pardon? I said, I wanted to be a train driver. They told me I was colourblind. So I was like, right, that's it, and I'll become a scumbag instead. I was 10 years old. I thought I'd become a criminal. It was a joke. But it was downhill from that point when they said, Kieran, mate, you can't drive a train. I was like, what? I can't have my honey sandwiches and go on my train. And You know what I mean? Never had any of that. Gutted, never driven a train. But, so, it's true. I don't know why I say these things. It's true, it's not a lie. So, being somebody that's never really sort of aspired, that's the word, aspired to be somebody or aspired to achieve, and realising that I'm good at something, that I'm pretty damn good at. It's not being good at catching paedophiles or whatever, it's not about that, it's about being committed enough to doing something and realising that, you know what, I'm not just a lazy piece of shit that doesn't want to do anything. You know, I'm a guy that actually could do something good. And it became quite addictive in a way, you know. I felt good knowing that I've maybe helped or reached somebody on some level, not the people that I catch, but people that support me or that can relate to my story about, you know, what I've been through as a kid and whatever else. So, and it was sort of the turning point for it, the whole turning point. You know, at first, it blew up. It got really, 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 really big, really, really quick. And I was like, shit, what am I going to do? Like, I can't cope with this. It's too much pressure. I'm going to have to pack it in. Da, da, da. But then there was a guy that we were talking to, Pervez Akhtar, his name was, and he turned up to me, a 13-year-old girl, I think, and basically ran me over. Long story short, he ran me over, bust both my ankles, cracked my head open, mashed all my shoulders up. I was in a pretty bad way. The next morning was sort of, those that know, there was a guy that decided after I caught him, he wanted to kill himself. You know, he killed himself, and they told me, I laughed because they told me on the morning after I'd been run over like I was supposed to care. You know, like I was sat, like lay there in bed, I couldn't move, like literally couldn't move. Didn't know what was going to happen with me. And they told me, and I was just like, well, so what? Like, why are you telling me now? But then, sort of, a little while later, I needed a toilet. I need to go for a wee. Sorry to be graphic, but I did, right? And they had one of them, you know, if you've been to hospital, you know them little pots that you have to do, right? Now, bear in mind, this was the only arm that would work, and I'm right-handed. This was the only arm that would work, right? And it weren't working properly. And I was there, and I was on this bed, and I was trying to sort of manoeuvre myself to try and do what I needed to do. And watch me radio, Mike. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go to the toilet. I'm going to be a big boy here, and I'm going to try and go to the toilet. So I thought, get out of bed. And I fell out of the bed, and I smashed off the floor, couldn't move, pissed all over myself, right? Just pissed all over myself. And I was lay there. And this wasn't a religious experience at all. It was, I don't know, it was like an epiphany of sorts. Oh, hello, Satan. And it was, I lay there and I went through everything that I'd done, every little bad thing that I'd done, and how I thought that there's no way that I could possibly make up for the things that I've done. You know, I've done some terrible things, and I thought, well, if I'm in this position now where I'm probably never going to be able to move again, you know, I'm not going to be able to right the wrongs and make up for it. Maybe not right the wrongs because it's in the past, you can't do anything about the past, but what you do in the future. And lying there in that state, you know, the most undignified, and I've been in some really undignified situations, like through drink and drugs and whatever else. But lying there in a pool of my own piss, sorry to be graphic, but and thinking this is your life forever at 30 or 31, whatever I was. And I took that moment and I hold that moment with me all the time. You know, it's not something that I'm really comfortable with talking about, the whole thing that happened. You know, it affected me really, really, really greatly. But at the same time, it was the worst thing at that point that could ever happen to me. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it gave me something that I hadn't had before. You know, it gave me that drive, that extra drive. I mean, I had the drive before doing what I was like when I was catching the nonsense and stuff. But at that point, I wasn't I was passionate, but I didn't see the reason. I didn't see, like the personal reason. I knew why I was doing it, but I didn't have anything I could pinpoint and say, this is why I'm doing this. This is another reason why I'm doing this. This is my personal reason. And I think that, you know, that was the turning point. You know, 2 weeks later after that, I got out of hospital. Week after getting out of hospital was the first day of shooting the Paedophile Hunter. Those that have seen it with Roger Wilson, the guy that was smoking a cigarette, I'd have been out of hospital a week with 2 broken ankles chasing after him. And it didn't matter to me. You know, I suffer with the pain and everything now, but it didn't matter to me because it was the people that were behind me and the support that I had at the time. And it was before this got even bigger, like this got way bigger than I ever expected. But those that supported me and those that had my back and sent me in cards when I was in hospital and come to visit me, people that I didn't even know, like my own friends didn't even come and visit me, you know. Two friends come and visited me in hospital, and I'm not pissed about that, I'm not bothered. People have got their own lives, I'm not their responsibility. But it was the people that didn't know me. Actually, it was more than that. It was about 3-4 friends, Stubbsy, Kev, Grime, my dad popped up, and someone else. But the supporters that turned up, you know, it was incredible to like lie there and know that these people actually give a shit about you. But then it started with the paranoia with everything, you know, at that point people didn't know that I was a former heroin addict, they didn't know that I'd been to prison, they didn't know anything about me really, they just sort of knew of me. And it kind of played on my mind a lot, like I was like, how am I going to feel how are these people going to feel when they find out that I've been a complete scumbag? Are they going to hate me? Are they going to slag me off? Are they going to turn their back on me? And when the story broke, going back to the guy that committed suicide, when that story broke, the response from that was incredible. And I almost packed up, That was the purpose of why that story got out there, was to try and get me to stop. But again, it was like, no, I ain't giving up. Like, why should I give up? Like, I'm doing something all right. If people are trying to stop me, then obviously I'm doing something right, you know. And I've always given up. I've always said, no, I'm bored. I'm not doing that now. I don't need to do that. Someone else can do that. That's someone else's job. Why do I need to do that? And I did that too many times, and I'd back myself into a corner with something. I'd found something that was not being talked about, that nobody was paying any attention to, and I was like, well, I can't really be a hypocrite and sit here knowing that this is a serious problem and not do anything. And it became my life. And although I don't run around catching people and whatever else, I mean, it's something I'm looking at doing again, but I won't be doing it in this country. I want to look. This isn't about just this country. It isn't about England. It isn't just about the UK. It's about the whole world knowing about what's going on, and that's kind of the next sort of plan. But thank you for your question, I appreciate it. Has anybody else got anything? Anybody? Hi, I'll come back. I'll go to you. It's all right. It's fine.
I just wanted to carry on with what you've
Oh yeah, I'll do this one, and I'll come back to you. I'll come to you next. I promise. Right. Hi. Hello. Hi. Yeah.
So how many people have you caught who do what you're doing right now with the police, with the aid of the police? How many convictions have you had?
Convictions. We had our 50th, that's 2 weeks ago, last week. 50th, well, it was a guilty plea, but it's still a conviction.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. So yeah, that's 50, so, but it's important that those 50 are 50 that we need to talk about that, like this is why it's been done. It's not just get them locked up, that's it, like done. It's not about that, it's about getting them talking, getting people talking about it. And as important and great that it is that the people are being convicted, there still needs things to be changed. It's all well and good getting them convicted. I fast track it through the police because I don't have to worry about the red tape. That red tape, I've said it a few times already, that red tape needs to go, and they need to be able to do what they need to do. You know.
And what you've done now in the UK, is that going to help you to explore, obviously, abroad?
Yeah, definitely.
Because now you've got that connection, you've done what you've done with the UK police, you know now that what you can go and say to those like European police or whatever and do that.
Yeah, it's definitely something to look into. It's obviously language barriers and different laws that I have the trouble with. I'm pretty good with with the UK law, but anything else I kind of fall to pieces a little bit over it. But I'm looking at other places. I was talking to a group in Norway actually, and I was sort of really into the idea of doing something with these guys. But after a bit of conversations, I thought, you know what, it's not a good fit. These guys are doing it, but they're a different country, they're a different breed, they're a different type of person, they've got a different personality, you know, they haven't got that bit that I've got where I've got the Britishness about me, where I'm quite polite, and they're not so much. And that's their thing, and I let them do it. But you know, I was going to go, because at the time I thought they were quite close to what I was doing and had the same message. But as it went on, as conversations went on, and they were more bothered about press and everything else as opposed to sort of working with me. And because I was going to invest, I was going to give them, like, buy them equipment and everything else, you know. And they didn't want to sort of. I was like, look, hold back a bit. You don't need to rush out. We can get this out, and we can get it out, and it can have looking good with subtitles. It looks professional. But they didn't want to do that. They just sort of, again, I think that I sort of got it wrong, and that they might have just been after a quick bit of fame, maybe, because they'd seen my film over in Norway. So, but yeah, right. Belinda, hi. Still at
Right, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Right. One of your haters,
Yeah.
right, messaged me on the Facebook.
Yeah.
recently, and he said Stinson can't do any more stings now. He's got a criminal record. So apparently, right, do you need a licence?
No.
Oh no.
You can't stop somebody having if you want to go to.
Sorry,
Sorry, I thought you'd finished.
Yeah, because apparently someone said, I've heard that you need a licence now.
No, that was something that the police and whatnot, the police and the authorities, they tried to bring out to somewhat intimidate people that thought about starting up doing this. And it was a bit of legislation. It was a legislation that was already in place. There's changed a few words. The reason why I'm not doing it in the UK is purely because there's that many other people doing it. You know, people aren't talking about it anymore. What's the point in doing something if people aren't talking about it? I could go to another country, cause chaos in another country, they'll talk about it, and they'll talk about it in England as well, because I'm from England, so they'll talk about it over here, and that'll get more people talking. Whereas if I'm doing it in England, it's like bashing my head against a brick wall now, because that many other people doing it, it's been sanitised, and it doesn't scare people, it doesn't shock people anymore.
No, sorry, I was going to say that I know some people doing it, but I don't know what everybody else thinks. But I think you've got the right attitude, the way you do it. Like there's another one on Facebook, and I was having a look at them, and they had like this, they were surrounding this guy,
Yeah.
and trapped him, and I think it was somebody you called actually.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, from the Haunted one or something.
I don't know who it was, but that's the thing, like, if you're doing things like that, why are you doing it? Like, why have you started? Like, why, if you're going to intimidate and do this, that and the other, like, why? You've got to question why you're doing it. If you can't control your emotions, why are you doing it?
You're just brilliant, you are.
Thank you. It takes a lot.
Yeah, you know, I don't know how you keep so calm. I really don't.
Inside, I'm not so much. Inside, I'm a bit like, ooh, but...
Look at that cocky bastard, that Kieran.
Pardon?
You know, that one that imitated the police officer, that
Oh,
Kieran.
Kyle.
Kyle, that's it.
I'm a police officer, he says. Yeah, he was a weird one.
Yeah, well, but then you keep your calm, you know.
I found it humorous. So, yeah. Is anybody else? Anybody else? Hi.
Hi. So you've obviously done so much important work that most people in their lifetime will never actually achieve that has an actual impact on change, convictions and on raising awareness. And what is it that's the most satisfying moment in your life today that in the work that you do that you've gone, this is big, like I've really done something good here? Or just one moment?
the one moment for me where it really got me, right? It really got me. It actually made like everything sort of started to make sense, right? It was, if you've seen the Paedophile Hunter, there was a bit where I get the call through about the conviction, the first jury conviction. I had convictions before, but it was the first one by jury. The rest had pleaded guilty. So I'll give you the backstory to the case. When I was in the court giving evidence and being grilled by the prosecution, the defence, sorry. The defence, when the defence was grilling me, he didn't like me very much, throwing a lot of nasty stuff at me, throwing my past in my face. And I had an uphill battle with that. Like the evidence, the person that had been talking to the guy had lost one of the messages or something, and the guy was arguing that he didn't think she was 15 or whatever. But the proof was there. And when I'm in that courtroom and this barrister of X amount of years experience, you know, higher standing in the public than me, is railing me and basically trying to call me a liar, and then you flash forward to a week later and you get a phone call saying the jury believed you, Mr. Criminal Junkie, whatever else, they believed you over a teacher with a reputable career, a barrister, and everything else. And it broke me. No, it genuinely broke me. I didn't think that the guilty plea would have invoke such a strong emotion in me. You know, it was validity. It was people saying, you know what, mate, you're right. And that kind of, for me, a personal thing, having 11 out of 12 rather than 10 out of 11 others in the jury, I can't remember, but having those people, you know, one abstained or whatever, but having those people saying, we believe you, regardless of what this guy said about you and all your past and everything else, whatever, we believe you guilty. And it was mind-blowing. It was, and it still gets me now. I watch the documentary, like, I'm not going to lie, I do watch it quite a lot. And it's not to sit there polishing my ego thinking, oh, you're great, look at you. I do it because it reminds me of what I've been through, and it reminds me of what my friends have been through. It reminds me that I nearly died doing this, you know, and my friends had to see that. And all the other little bits that people don't see in that film, I see that documentary in a completely different light to what everyone else will see it. I see certain things are happening and that other people don't know about, and we were going through emotions and bad things that we had no way of talking about. Like me in particular, it was the weight was all on me mainly. The other guys, I kept them out of it. Like they didn't want anything. I had to be the front man. I had to take it on the chin. And then to have somebody go, you're right, it got me, man. It really did, and it gets me now, and it will. Every time I watch the documentary, it gets me. I know it's coming, and I'm like tensing up, because first time I saw it was in a theatre in London, and I'm sat there in a big theatre, not a big theatre, I'm lying, it was a 100-seater maybe that size of this, and we sat there, and you've got Graham Coxon from Blur, and then you've got Chris Morris, who directed Four Lions, and you've got this other guy, I can't remember his name, I feel really bad, I can't remember his name, but he won an Oscar for sound, you know, for doing sound on a movie. I can't remember what movie it was. And you've got all these people sat there coming to, and a big, massive, like, poster of me on a screen with my friends, and looking at it thinking, wow, how has this happened? Like, how did we get something that was just a small idea out there to millions of people? And you know, it means a lot, like it does. And people get me wrong and think that I'm a bit arrogant and a bit whatever. But I don't know, like I'm not. I'm quite humble, and I'm quite I try and not let all this get to me. You know, I live in my own little world. I live in a little bubble of sort of GTA documentaries, and that's it, you know. I didn't do this sort of praise, and I didn't do it for anything, but I've got some out of it. Along the way, I found a purpose and I found a reason. You know, multitude of different reasons as to why I do why I do it. You know, personal or, you know, morally and things like that. And yeah, it's given me something. It's given me quite a lot, and I'm really sort of grateful for everything that I've been given and that I've earned. You know, and I'm grateful for everybody that's supported me. You know, it's weird. It's really weird because I've never been accepted ever by anybody at school. Kicked out, 3 high schools expelled, non-school attenders kicked out of that. Who gets kicked out of a non-school attenders? Like, it's virtually impossible. But I managed it. You know, I got kicked out of college. I went to college once, right? I'll go to college. Why? My mate was there. Wanted to become an electrician. I'm colourblind, ain't I? So I'm blowing stuff up. But I was just doing stuff for this. I'm an idiot. I just went for the sake of going. I don't know why I said that. It just popped into my head, off at tangents. But I'd never been good at anything. And I'm pretty good at it. Like the things I'm working on at the minute, I'm quite excited about because they're big, grandiose, intricate plans and missions, and I like that sort of stuff. And it gives me a sense of purpose and a sense of, I feel like I belong on the planet now. I never used to feel like I belonged, you know. I never felt like I fitted in anywhere. Still don't feel like I fit in as such, but I feel a little bit more connected with people than what I did a couple of years ago. So yeah, thank you. I've got to stop doing that, I know, it's shocking. So yeah, anybody? Oh, you, hi. I'll come to you next. Sorry.
I'm trying to come across it from a different point of view. You've not quite said why you do, the reasons why you do it. I see that you're doing it because there's demons in your past. I don't feel you've dealt with that, because I feel like there's issues that need to be dealt with within society and people, rather than just focusing on paedophiles. You know, just catching the name.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely spot on. I have demons.
So no one's talked about some of the issues that are involved, or how to protect people or kids.
Exactly. You're right.
The media's involved in it all.
Exactly. It doesn't get spoken about enough, and you're right.
And people focusing just on you. So you've got that pressure on you, Stinson Hunter. You know, people want to know all about you. So.
And that's sort of why, one of the reasons why I do this, give people the opportunity that wanted to know. It's never been about me. I've never wanted it about me. I don't want to be in the papers, sort of my antics and things that I'm getting up to that aren't within the realm of what I do. I do have demons. I have demons that I've not dealt with, of course I do. I've got issues with, you know, why I was brought up, whatever, you know. But there are things that I am dealing with. You know, I am dealing with these things. I've recognised over the past couple of years what my issues are, and you know, the relationships that I form with people, you know, just people in general, and why I form them relationships. And you know, it certainly plays a massive part, well, not a massive part, it's a lie, but it certainly plays some part in why I do what I do. You know, it's, you know, I'm not going to sit and blame anything or anyone for anything that has ever happened. It's not, no point. There's no point in, for me, I've learned there's no point bitching and moaning about stuff that happened X amount of years ago. This is just me, I'm speaking just for me, right? I've sort of been in care, I was in a kids' home, and I've seen grooming gangs and whatever else coming in, taking girls away. You know, it's funny, I actually got my police certificate the other day to try and get my visa to the United States. And I went through it and I looked, and I was like, look at my criminal record. And the first ever conviction I ever got, and it never clicked until the other day. First ever conviction I got was fraud, telecommunications fraud, right? And burglary, I think it was. And all it was, I jigged the lock at the manager's office at the kids' home, jigged the lock, so I used to be able to do the locks and sneak in. Got the mobile phone, got the account details, rang them up. Hi, this is Alan, such and such and such and such and such, account number, password this. got all the bars lifted on the phone. Like, this was back in 97, 96, 97. Got all the bars lifted on the phone, right? Which is all fun and games, right? You think, oh, that's funny, well done. But I didn't do it for me. I did it for the grooming gangs that were taking these girls away. They put me up to it. They sort of like, oh, we need a phone. They need to get the phone for the girls in the kids zone. These guys had mobile phones, but they wanted one for thinking. I was like, oh, I can get that. Not even thinking about it, not even realising at the time. It's only recently that I've realised, like, they'd take me out. Nothing ever happened, but they'd take me out and ply me with drugs, and I was loving it. Like, obviously it's drugs, and I was a fiend for the drugs back then. So they're banging me drugs, and I'm like, sweet. And all the time my friend was being raped in a car, and that breaks my heart. Like, it genuinely does. You know, I was a kid. I was 14, 15. I didn't know what was going on. I had no clue, really. I thought that it's consent, it's fine. You know, you don't realise at that age. And I look back. I've done a lot of soul searching coming up to this. I've been doing a lot of soul searching and thinking about my past and a lot more of what's gone on. And, you know, I feel guilty. I feel guilty for all that went on at the kids' home. I feel like I should have been more protective, more sort of aware. I've never been stupid, I've never been naive, I've never not been streetwise. I know the score.
You was only a kid.
That's the thing. This is what I was getting to. I was a kid. But as an adult, I think with an adult brain now. I don't think with a kid's brain, I've got the adult brain. So I'm thinking of that. I'm thinking of me as an adult now. I would be like, police. You know, I mean, the police did get called. My dad was supposed to be here tonight. He was there for it all. And police didn't do anything. Nobody did anything. Even now, I've spoken about it. No one's said anything. Tamworth Herald got hold of me once when I mentioned it. I told them, and they weren't really interested. But I went back to the kids' home last year for a visit. I thought, I'll go and have a pop-up, see how everyone's doing, kind of thing. You're all right? They knew of Kieran. They didn't know who I was, but they'd heard the legacy of me and the chaos that I caused there. And we were talking about it. And even then, when I mentioned the grooming stuff, they were like, you could see they wanted me to shut up about it, you know. But yeah, that definitely plays a massive part. You know, I've got a lot of guilt. I hold a lot of guilt for things that I should have done with things. You know, for instance, another one, you know, totally unrelated, but I was thinking about it the other day. I was listening to Warning by Green Day. I think it's a terrible album, but it was the first album that I got bought when I was in prison. My mum brought it in for me. And I had it on the other day, first time I listened to it in years. And it gave me flashbacks of this kid. I was in Brinsford, HMYY, Brinsford, starting off my 10-year sentence, or just before I got sentenced. And I was blasting the album through the pipes, like there's holes in the pipes so you could send like Backy through or talk through the pipes like that or whatever and send stuff through. And I was blasting music through for him. Anthony, his name was, Anthony Redding. And I was blasting music, like banging on his wall, come on, let's have a party. Down the healthcare, like I was causing chaos down there. You know, I was on a free man unlock at that point. So all I had was making as much noise as I could just to get a bit of like tension out of me. And then, next thing, it's open up for dinner time, tea time, bang up for dinner, 6 o'clock, whatever. And all you hear is them talking to the guy behind in the cell, the one next door to me, and he's not answering. Bells have gone off, and he's hung himself. 16-year-old kid, right? He was only in for, I say this, he was only in for a twat, taken without owner's consent. He was only in for a car theft, right? The kid was due to get out in a month's time or so, right? The healthcare department let him down. I feel, even now, that I let him down, you know? And things like that play on my mind, and it's only became sort of prominent since I got run over. Since I got run over, that's when these things started coming back and they started to really, really affect me more. The suicide, Anthony, it was in the papers. I had to go to coroner's court for him. And his mum and dad come up to me and they were like, but we don't blame you, we don't blame you. But I blame myself, you know, and I do now, still now. I feel so guilty about it, you know, and I use that guilt for stuff, everything, anything that I've, you know, people that I've hurt, people that I've lied to, you know, I use that guilt and it's horrible, like it breaks my heart, it genuinely breaks my heart when I think about people that I've hurt. And I just try and turn that into doing something positive. So yeah, my demons, my guilt for things does sort of play a part in a lot of what I do. And I do need to open up a lot more about things and work through it, but I'm trying, it's little steps, but I'm getting better, every day I'm getting better, you know, every day. So yeah, thank you for your question, I appreciate it. Hi, how are you? Pardon, sorry? Hints of future plans. TV. There's definitely some TV on the horizon. I can't say too much because I've got like do not disclosures and stuff, but I had an idea for tackling a certain type of groomers, and we approached some production companies about this idea, and they said, well, this one place was like, no, we're not, that's too controversial. But from that, they're looking at kind of maybe more options of the ideas that I've got that I've been trying to pitch around to maybe bring that into the fold. So without giving away what I'm actually doing, like, 'cause I don't like to work like that. Like the Paedophile Hunter took nearly 2 years to make. Nobody knew for the first year that I was making it. Nobody had a clue that I was making the documentary. And that's how I like to keep things. But there's definitely TV stuff happening involving sort of in the same sort of field, but also going off and doing other things. I think there's a lot more that I need to explore as a person. You know, I need to go out there and be seen. I don't want to be typecast as just the paedophile hunter. I mean, as lovely as the, you know, the praise and everything that I get for it, it's on a personal and maybe a slightly selfish side of things. I want to do something that gives me that little bit of a push, that kind of pat on the back, you know, something that I feel good about doing. And if I'm not passionate about it, or if I'm not sort of 100% committed to something, then I'm not going to do it. But the paedophile stuff is definitely something that I'm looking at in other countries. Like, that is definitely something that is on the cards. But it's a case of, do certain countries want me in there? And if they will let me in there, are they going to be watching me all the time? I don't want to just go to a country and people automatically think that I'm going to be sticking cameras in people's faces and stuff. So I've got to kind of play it a bit cool. I have to play it a bit cool with everything. But there's a lot more sort of documentary ideas. And it's sort of in the planning stages right now. I went to London for a chat with Dan Reed from the Paedophile Hunter last week. First time I've seen him since the film screening of the Paedophile Hunter. I haven't seen him since 2014. And we had a good chat. We had a really, 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 really good chat. And hopefully something might come from that. But there's a few other people that it's a tough one, because certain people don't want to touch me because they think that I'm owned by Dan Reed and Channel 4, and it's sort of, if they don't want to do the project, if Channel 4 and Dan Reed don't want to do the project, I need to sort of get them to say, well, you do it with these. I need their sort of blessing in a way, because they'll want it first, which is understandable. Like, I understand that they'll want it first, and I'll give it to them first. I'll do it for free, I don't care, you know. So there's another thing I'm working on, is something I was looking at last year, which was the online safety campaign. That's something I wanted to do last year, and it fell by the wayside. A lot of my stuff fell by the wayside last year, purely because I was genuinely run down. I was broken. I was completely and utterly ruined. I got hooked on the painkillers again, didn't I? Like, I got hooked on them wretched tramadol. And I lost a load of weight, and it just, everything went to shit basically. So I couldn't really put anything into anything at that point last year. I couldn't put my mind into anything. I needed a break. I needed to get my life back on track. You know, it was going off the rails. It was going off the rails rapid. So I think that whatever I do next has got to be sort of right, and I've got to be mentally strong enough to deal with it. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Cheers. Anybody else got anything? Hi, again.
What's the impact of what you've done on your personal life? So has that had an impact on
Absolutely.
your friendships and relationships?
Yeah, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust people more so now than I've ever done before. I've got my close little circle of mates, and I trust them, but I've pretty much been single for a considerable amount of time because I always think that people are just trying to get close to me for whatever reasons. I've always been quite isolated anyway. I've always been quite on my own and like my own company. But it certainly has affected it. I don't go out as much anymore. I think I'm a lot more boring now. Maybe that might be the age thing, but I don't know. But it's lonely, man. Like, it's a lonely little world that I live in. Like, really can get quite shitty. Like, I can go weeks of not actually seeing anybody that I can have a conversation with, you know, and that's my own doing, man. That's my own doing, because I've kind of boxed myself in, and I think that people might just be trying to do things for whatever reason, whether it's negative or a positive. I don't know. I question everything. I question what people's motives are, and it's a lonely little world that I live in, but I kind of chose to carry on with this, and I've made my own bed, and now I have to lie in that bed, and I accept that I've got to lie in that bed. You know, I don't cry about it. Yeah, I have a little whinge, and I might have a little bit of I might have a meltdown at some point, but you know, I get back up, dust myself off, and crack on. People have stabbed me in the back numerous times, you know. But again, going back to taking a negative and turning it into like positivity, that's what I do. You know, I had people trying to stop this show happening. Still did it, you know, still went ahead and did it. I've had people, all sorts of people doing all sorts of stuff. Friends, a really close friend of mine, really did some really terrible things behind my back for a couple of years without me even realising that we're doing it. And I was helping them out with money and whatever else. And they, turned out they were telling stories to people, you know, mainly an ex-girlfriend of mine, like the love of my life. And turned her, like, she hated me anyway, but sort of filled her head with more and more evil and lies, and luckily I managed to prove everything, you know, because people spout lies, but I'm like, well, give me the facts and then we can talk about it. I'll give you facts. I'll always try and give the facts. So having things like that happen really definitely makes me think, well, who can I trust really, you know? When you've had your own grandma give out your details to the Daily Mail, that's a bit shit. So, but you take it on the chin, man. You take it on the chin, don't you? Like, there's no point in me sitting here crying about how my mates have like pissed me off, because I've pissed them off. I've done bad things to friends, and I've mugged people off, and I've been a shitbag. So maybe I deserve it. Maybe it's a bit of, you know, what goes around comes around, and maybe I deserve it. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to cry that I get a bit lonely. Everybody gets lonely. Could be worse. I could be in a lot worse of a situation. You know, I look round and I'm like, I'm sat here in front of a load of people. You know, my life isn't that bad. Like, my life isn't that bad. Like, there's no point getting upset about sort of people hurting you. just get on, dust it off, and soldier on and do what you got to do. So yeah. Sorry, I'm sat down. It's quite comfy, this is, I tell you. I'll sit back asleep. Is anybody else got anything? Hi, again.
How are you feeling, by the way? I knew you were sick.
I'm getting better. Like, I was really bad. I think it might have been a dose of hay fever as well as a cold. Like, I've necked some Piriton or whatever they are, and necked some Beecham's. I'm dosed up, and I'm feeling a lot better. Like, I am feeling a lot better. I've eaten, and I think I might struggle tomorrow. I think I've burnt myself out today because I've been running about like a blue-arsed fly. So I think that maybe I might be a bit ill tomorrow, but hopefully not. Hopefully not. I've got a busy few days ahead. But thank you very much for asking. I appreciate it.
Can you go back now to where you left prison? And did it change you then, or did it change you before?
Prison?
When did you change as a person?
I don't know if there was an actual point where I changed. I think that I've always wanted to change. I've always wanted to be a good person. I've always had that in me where I've tried. And I went to prison, and I was looking at a community service order, which basically would have meant I'd go out and have to do some odd jobs for people. Instead I got 10 years. But I purposely got a big sentence. I needed that help. I had my sentence planned out before I'd even got sentenced. I knew the prisons I wanted to go to, I knew what I had to do, this and the other, and I went out and did it.
You spoke to doctors?
I did therapy. There's a prison called HMP Grendon, and this plays a massive part in why I'm so good, if you will, at being calm with these people. I went to this prison called HMP Grendon. I was 21, and I'd had to wait until I was 21 till I could go to that prison. And it was a therapeutic community. And in that prison, you've got bad people, like really bad, like sex offenders. You've got people that have been in there for doing some really despicable things to their kids and whatever else. But these weren't segregated. Part of your therapy, you had to have these people in your group and listen to these stories. So I've had to hear these sort of horrific kind of stories. But in this group work, you get challenged. So imagine I'm sat there at 21 years of age, the youngest guy in the whole prison might I add. For two years, I was the youngest kid in the prison. And you've got these 40-odd-year-old sex offenders, right, 1 or 2 on your group, 3 maybe, telling you that you're a piece of shit. When you've got these people saying that to you at 21, it's like, whoa, not saying a piece of shit, but words to that effect. They had to be a bit more diplomatic about it. But when you've got that really played a massive part. And I did a lot of learning in Grendon, a lot of trying to understand more about why I offended. And I only offended really because I liked it. I didn't do it because I wanted the money. I didn't do it because I needed anything. I did it. I did stuff because I wanted to, because I was that scummy that if I wanted to do something, I'd go ahead and do it, you know, and I wanted to change. So the change started when I got arrested, because I was on the run from the police for nearly a year. I got arrested the day before my 19th birthday, October 9th, 2000. Got arrested day before my birthday. And I knew that I needed to do something. I knew that I didn't want to get out. Either I didn't want to ever get out, or if I was going to get out, I wanted to get out and I wanted to try and stay out of trouble for forever. So I purposely went out of my way to get the biggest possible sentence. I was looking at a life sentence at first. I was looking at life originally. Believe it or not, arson does carry a life sentence. So it's one of the worst. It's up there with the worst of the worst crimes. Thankfully, I didn't get a life sentence. That would have sucked. Because I'd probably still be in there now. I'd have probably gone completely off the rails and I'd still be behind the door now. I wouldn't be having this conversation with you guys. So the whole process of change began the second that door shut behind me, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I ain't getting out for a long time now. Like, I went through that whole thought process. Before it was like, oh, I'll get banged up. I'll be out next month. Like, you know, I'll be out after a couple of weeks. And that's what it was like for a long time. But then when you get nicked and remanded for an arson charge and you know you're pretty fucked, you know, you've got to like resign yourself to the fact that you're going to be behind the door and you've got to do something about it, and you've got to be a bit more proactive within yourself to try and change things. And that's what I did. You know, I went out there and I tried. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect.
What makes you different from other people that have done the same thing?
Pardon?
What makes you different from other people who have you know, caused trouble, you know, and
I think
they've gone to jail
but they haven't changed.
and they haven't changed? What makes you?
They didn't want to.
I'm sorry?
They didn't want to. They didn't want to change. I wanted to change. I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to know what happiness felt like. And I know what that's like now.
It wasn't the fact that you were in therapy and they tried to, you know, discuss your past.
Well, I chose to go to therapy. I chose to go there. So it was a purposely chosen move to go into that prison. I had to wait until I was 21 to go to the prison, and I applied before I was 21 to go to that prison. I made every effort to get to that prison. I come off the medication and everything I was on at the time so I could get to that prison. Because you can't be on meds, well, not you can now, but back in the day when I was there, you couldn't be on certain types of medication. So I did everything within my power to get to that prison. I needed to go to that prison. I needed that prison to help me, because I'd read a book when I was in for taking without owner's consent car theft. And what I did was, there was a book, and I've got a copy of the book, a girl I went out with called Becky. She got me a copy of the book in 2010. It's called Within These Streets. And it's by a guy called Jimmy Rice. Basically, this guy is a toe rag and he commits all these sort of terrible crimes and whatever else. And he went to Grendon. And he sorted his life out. He became some religious guy and whatever else. You know, that fair play to him. He does his thing. It's not my thing, but it makes him happy. But he turned his life around. He went to Grendon. And that stuck out to me. I was like, that book moved me. That book is my favourite book. It blew my mind. It's only a short book, but it blew my mind when I read it. I was like, wow, this guy is incredible. And from that point, I was like, you know what, if I ever get a big sentence, I'm going to go to that HMP Grendon because it sounds absolutely spiffing. And I went there and it was great. It was great. And I had, you know, it was prison, but I had a great time there. You know, it was hard, but I say a great time, but you've got to remember, institutions are all I know. I've been in care and whatever else. And that's all I know is institutions. So to be in there with people that seemed like they actually cared, and they talked to you like an adult, like it was first name terms there. Like it weren't, oh, Parsons, or excuse me, miss. It was first names. Even to the governors. One of the governors on my last day at that prison, my final meal at HMP Grendon, Pamela Riley, right, she was gorgeous, she was, right, she come and had a meal with me. It was like I was on a date, like just sat there like eating my dinner. She come down on the wing and sat there eating a dinner with me. She sat eating a dinner, like having a meal with me to say goodbye. You know, it was a different world. It was a completely different world, that place. People might say, oh, it's a bit of a holiday camp. But the work that you're doing on yourself mentally, you need something, like you need a little bit of relaxation. You need a bit of less being locked up all the time and things like that. That prison, it's changed now. The prison's apparently been run into the ground. I'm not, you know, it could be wrong, but that prison has helped a lot of people. People that even I know now that have sort of working towards prison reform. They've spoke highly of Grendon. You know, a few people have negative things to say about it, but that's their experience, you know. But I absolutely, I loved it, and it changed my life for the better, I think, definitely. So yeah, cheers. Anyone else? Oh, hi. Don't make it too confusing, because I'm I forget, I'll get confused.
Right, first of all, when you was in care,
Yeah.
did they teach you about independent living? Because I'm going on to the next question is, have you ever been homeless or lived in a homeless hostel or slept rough? The reason why I ask you that is because in the past I've done a lot of work with the So, and also with people from the care system and that. So.
Yeah. Well, back in 97, 98, when I was due to leave care, 97, I left in January 98. They had independent living, but they didn't trust me enough to have access to the kitchen and the little lounge area and stuff like that. They didn't trust me enough. So I missed out on all that. My own fault, my own stupidity, my own negative behaviour. So I never really had any of that. So for me, everything that I've had to learn it by myself. Like I've never really had like parents to sort of, I mean I've had a mum and a stepdad and stuff, but I never lived with them like for years, like since I was a kid. So I kind of had to learn everything by myself, and which brings me to the homeless thing. Like I've been homeless. Luckily I've slept rough, like not rough, but I've slept in a shed in the mum's back garden once because she'd gone away. I didn't live with her, but she'd gone away, and I was locked out of my mate's house and had to sleep in there. Like, I was homeless, but I was living on a mate's sofa. But if I weren't there,
What they call the hidden homeless, yeah.
pardon?
What they call when you sleep on mates' sofas.
Yeah, I was just bouncing about.
Sofa surfing, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. But the thing is, I actually like doing that. Like I like bouncing about the place. I like sort of not being tied down to one sort of spot, and I think that's sort of down to being in care and prison, and you know, you learn not to get too settled in places because you know it doesn't last forever. It doesn't last forever. You know, things get taken away. So, but yeah, I've been homeless. I was homeless when the film came out, when the Paedophile film came out. You know, I was homeless then. Well, I was sleeping on my mate's sofa, but I was pretty much homeless at that point. So yeah, I was in a really bad way. Like in terms of finances, leading up to sort of the 2 years running up to that film, I couldn't go out and work because I was tied to this documentary, and I couldn't have people finding out bits about it. Or if I'm filming a documentary, I can't just take time off work. You know, I can't. Well, I've got to take time off work to film this, or I've got to go out and do stings and things like that. So it kind of made it really difficult, and I was homeless, crashed on my mate's sofa, a spare room, on a little sofa thing for a bit.
What do you think about people who live on the streets?
What do you mean?
You know,
What
homeless people who live on
it needs looking at. It's something that that's another thing that I'm definitely looking at. I've
actually
worked
with people on the streets as well. I used to go up and talk to this guy in Birmingham about a year, I think.
Yeah.
And found out quite a lot about it. Because I just used to go, like years ago when I was quite healthy, I just used to go up and talk to people in the streets. I've been to London, I've done soup runs and everything like that. I've met all kinds of people.
Yeah. I think.
I find it could be quite interesting because it's a chaotic life.
I know it's something that needs to be looked at. It does, and it's something I'm quite interested in, and it's something I've been talking about with a few of my mates about a project idea to do with the homeless people. It's time and everything else. You know, there's so much I want to do that I haven't got time to do. That I
think you'd be quite good at doing something like that because obviously, like you've been in care, and I've worked in a homeless hospital where we had a lot of people in from the care system, and obviously, like our job was a support worker for like homeless people, not like social workers. It's quite difficult, like working, and also I've known people personally from the care system who've been in care, and it's like I think you'd be quite good at that because obviously you've been through the experience.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I'd like to explore. I'm looking at exploring a lot of different things. You know, it's just time with everything. It's time, and my brain goes a bit funny sometimes. It overload, and I'm like, shut down. I've got to shut down. I can't cope with this constant barrage of ideas and information, and I'm running around trying to get all these ideas off the ground, and it gets confusing. So I'm trying to do like one thing at a time. I've got a nice group of people around me that sort of help me orchestrate my little plans that I have, which takes off a massive massive weight off my shoulders now. You know, before it was just all on me, and I don't have that anymore, which is pretty cool. So yeah. Is anybody, anyone else? Hi.
Considering from where you've come, that out of prison and being in homes and everything, what was it like the day that you found out that you won a BAFTA?
Oh, the BAFTA. The BAFTA. Do you know what? I said to Dan Reed, we're outside Masala's in Nuneaton opposite the Crew. If you know Nuneaton, that's where it is. And I was out there, I was having a cigarette, and I was talking to Dan. I was like, another BAFTA here, Dan, eh, mate? Another BAFTA. And he's there going, oh, we'll see, kind of thing. And I'm there, look, mate, you've got this in the bag, pal, you've got this in the bag. And he went, you reckon? I was like, yeah, of course. Joking, being completely like taking the piss, but Dan takes me seriously. A lot of people take me seriously because I'm quite a deadpan. But as we were making the film, it kind of, I thought, do you know what? Like, that could actually happen, man. Like, this could be a thing. Then when we got nominated, well, we got the RTS award. We got the RTS award first, and that was like, oh my God, like this is incredible. And we got another couple, but it was the BAFTA. I had my eye like fixed on that BAFTA. I wanted that, just purely because it's recognised. Everybody knows what, well, not everybody, but a mass majority of people know what a BAFTA is. And I've never been one for awards, you know. I never did the school races. You know, I weren't into the egg race and stuff. I never had a little gold badge to say I was a little good boy for doing well in sports days. Never got anything like that. So for me, it was like the one award that I kind of respected, that BAFTA award them to, particularly the documentary category. They're really, really, really good documentaries, and I'm a massive, massive documentary fan. Like, documentaries are the thing that I can sit and watch day in, day out, love it. So to win that award, for us to win that award, you know, for the best single factual documentary, you know, and it's not just me, it wasn't just me that won it, you know, it was people like Kev over there, and Stubbsy, and Grime, and Dan, Tom, and everybody else that was involved, man. That was the one that meant more because it was the collective one. It was one where we could all say we have claim to that. Like, this is ours, like the Paedophile Hunter, this was our project. We did it, we made it happen. Thank you. You know, it was incredible. But like I say, I never set out for awards, you know. I never set out for awards, but it blew my mind when I got it. It did, because I wanted it. I'm not going to lie, there's no point lying about it. I did want it, and I was so proud. I was in my house on my own when we won, because they wouldn't let me go to the awards because of my mouth. Like, what I said to them was, I turned around and I said, listen, I'm going to go to the awards, right? I'm going to go on stage and I'm going to give it some big political speech, like giving it the Charlie Big Potatoes, thinking, oh, they'll love that, wouldn't they? A bit of controversy, fucking headlines. Oh no, banned, you're not coming. Pretty much. And that was cool though, I understand why, but yeah, like, it was cool, sat there watching it on Periscope. Like, Dan Reed did it on Periscope. They were Periscoping it for me. And just to sit there watching it and watching the talking about it, because they don't show that on the BBC. They show the documentary, all the boring stuff at the end, all edited down. But with this one, I got to see all the stuff that you don't see. And they were talking about it, and they were talking about the other films that are up for it. And they were talking about the Baby P documentary. And as much as the Baby P documentary, it blew my mind because it was so graphic, but it was a standard documentary. It was formula. You knew, like, where you get these documentaries, and that you know, like, start, middle, end, you know kind of where it's going to go. And as powerful as that documentary was, and I was convinced, absolutely 110,000 million % convinced that would win it. And then they just turned around, I think it was Linda Papadopoulos, I think it was, that woman off the telly box. And she was like, the Paedophile Hunter. I was like, what? Jesus, and everyone was like, well done, like, everyone was like, that was there at the sat in the little seats that were there with Channel 4, like Dan, Tom, Mark Towns, I think his name was, and Rachel Norton, Anna Morales and all them, like, when they were all there, they were like, well done, well done, and well done. And I was like, wow, man, like, how did a load of like people from the Neaton do this? Like, how did we do this? Like, how did we achieve such how did we create such a film where everybody was talking about it, not just in this country, but it's been shown in Canada, Australia, it's been shown in Norway, it's been shown in loads of other places, and it's going to be shown in a lot more places in the future. And it's not an arrogance thing, man. Like, I'm not bragging. Like, I don't brag about it. I'm genuinely, like, really proud of, like, something that an idea that popped into my head in 2009, an idea of me being, you know, there's just this stupid experiment, this idea that somebody could be stupid enough to think that a child would be interested in them. So something from that to that, it's mind-blowing. It is. And, you know, I always said that I wanted a documentary, and I wanted it on Channel 4. I said that from the get-go. I was like, you know what, it'd be pretty awesome if we can get a if I can get a documentary on Channel 4. This was when I was on my own. But it was just a joke. It was a joke, man. It was a joke, and it kind of happened. And that just shows that anything can happen, man. Like, anything. If you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything. You can achieve absolutely anything you want if you put your mind and heart and soul and everything into it. But you've got to believe in what you're doing. You've got to believe in what you're saying. You've got to believe in what you're shouting about. You know, because if you don't believe in what you're shouting about, then what's the point? But, you know, the award, as amazing it is, and it blows my mind, you know, it's not just sort of me, it's everybody else that was involved in it. Everyone that had to put up with my shit, you know. And it's not just like, oh, yeah, Stinson's hard to work with. Oh, Stinson's really hard to work with, you know. And these people put up with me. These people suffered me, you know, because they believed in what I was saying. The film got pulled 5 times because of me, you know. The film nearly never happened about 5 times because of me. Self-sabotaging like I do with absolutely everything. Self-sabotage. And when I watched it with my mates, he weren't there. He didn't want to come. I think he fell out with me. Like, he always falls out with me. He weren't there. But my mates were sat there, and it was just like, wow, how. So yeah, thank you for that. Anyone else before we wrap this up? Hi, again. I've got to try and stay in the light here. It's like a force field. I keep trying to come over to see you because I can't see you that well.
What would you say to parents how to protect their kids from paedophiles and grooming gangs? And also, one other thing is, would you give evidence if the police asked about the whole grooming thing that you knew about?
Oh, I mean, I always give evidence to the police. Always give evidence. If the police ever ask me for evidence, I always give it. You know, I'm not against the police. I've never been against the police. I'll always do everything the police sort of want me to do because they're the law of the land. They uphold the law, and you have to respect them. But advice for people, parents, guardians, whatever, it is literally common sense. Like, you wouldn't let your kid run around out on the streets late at night unsupervised, or, you know, a little child running around without sort of knowing where they are. Some people mightn't, but I think that's pretty fucking irresponsible, you know. And I think that people need to realise that when you give these electrical devices to these children that are impressionable and can easily be manipulated by people, that you need to be a lot more careful. You know, there's there's not a lot out there in terms of security when it comes to sort of protecting your kids using these smart devices and things like that. There's not a lot out there. So parents need to be really vigilant. They need the passwords. You know, I think that parents should be able to access their kids' iPad, whatever, at any time they want. You know, some parents have said to me, yeah, but what if my kid says, starts kicking off or whatever? And it's like, you're the adult here, you're the parent. If you're giving them a £300-odd device, they should learn to respect it and respect you. You're the adult, they're in your house, and until the day they leave, they have to abide by your rules. But parents, I think, guardians some might feel a bit, they don't want to upset the kid, they don't want the kid screaming and shouting, they want an easy life, don't they? Like, you know, so they just relent and give in, you know? And I think it's important that people go through the messages, you know, because your kid could be sat right there, and you're talking, and she's talking, you know, oh, what you doing, Lucy? Oh, I'm just talking to a friend, and it's some old guy or woman, whatever, perving them up, trying to groom them and get bits and bobs out of them or whatever. It's monitoring the behaviour as well. You know, if you notice a change in your child, if you notice a change in her, like him, her, you know, if you notice a change in their behaviour and they're hiding the phone, or you notice that they're deleting things, you know, there should be rules. I think that back in the day you had rules like stranger danger, and you knew not to go wandering off with strangers. You knew these things, but nobody really knows that about the internet. You know, nobody really knows about the dangers of, you know, people think, oh, I'm talking to this person. But then I get it all the time. I get people talking to me and I'm like, you're not real. You're not who you say you are. And I mean, but I play along with it, just see how far they go. But it is really, when it boils down to it, it is common sense with it. You've got this device that has got access to the entire world. Like, you've got access to any sort of information on there. So it's common sense. You know, you should always check your kid's device. My mum used to always like come into my room and snoop through my room to probably steal my drugs or something. But you know, but she'd do that all the time, and that's that's sort of mum I had. Like my mum, you know, I won't really talk about my mum. It's what, like, I don't talk about my parents really. But my mum, she was on the ball, man. Like, she was on the ball. I had to be back in when the street lights were coming on. So back in, behind the door. She always said to me, you never had a problem keeping me in, like getting me in. It was keeping me in that was the problem. Like, they'd get me in there, I'd be popping the window and jumping out. But my mum did everything she could to keep me under control and monitor what I was doing. She'd always ask me, always, you know, she'd ask me, is everything all right, and this, that, and the other. She was all right, my mum. She was all right, I suppose, to a degree. But yeah, it is common sense. I mean,
Isn't that the problem though, that kids will rebel because the way your mum...
You take the device off them.
If she wasn't strict with you,
Yeah.
you probably wouldn't have rebelled.
I don't know, I think I was always going to be like that. I think I've always had that in me to be a little shit. I think no matter what, if my mum was like, you could stay out, I'd be like, no, I'm coming in and I'm staying in all day and all weekend and I'm not going anywhere. You know? Opposite. You want me to do something, make me think it's my idea and I'll do it then. That's what I'm like. Sorry, hi.
You say that, but I split up with my missus and I've got a kid with her, but if it weren't for me watching you, I wouldn't have picked up on my daughter being online rude.
Yeah.
So, you say, you know, it's up to the parents, but you as a one, and you've got to take this as you made it open to everybody.
Yeah, so the parents can start doing keeping an eye on things.
Somebody in America.
Pardon?
There was somebody in America what was grooming. So we have to go through the police.
Oh, it's, yeah, 'cause it's a different country, yeah. But that's the thing, like...
But she was getting money coming through.
Yeah. That's how they work.
That stuff, like mum, she comes to mine every weekend. I never picked up on it, she was always on her phone. You just think that.
Yeah.
But if it weren't for me seeing you and what you was doing on the internet following, wouldn't have come to light.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that's why I did it. That's a prime example of why I started, just to get people talking, just to get people to check their kids' stuff, just to get people to start being a little less complacent about things and start thinking, actually, we're in a digital age now, people, you know, we're not in the stranger danger, you know, little cute puppies in the back of a van and things like that, all that shit, all that stereotypical bullshit that we've been fed for years. That day and age is gone. The day and age of the dirty, greasy pervert that sits behind a computer screen masturbating, that day is long gone. These people are within everywhere, you know? And that's why I did it. That's why. It wasn't to, like I say, it wasn't to get people arrested. It wasn't to get the convictions. It wasn't to be like, there you go, Stinson, you're a good boy, well done. None of that, you know? It was... Pardon?
I see that bigger picture of you.
Yeah, a lot of people do. A mass majority of people do see that bigger picture. No, it's about getting people talking. And if someone is prepared to turn up to meet a child, you know, and some of them bring stuff with them. Some bring fags, some bring booze, food, cameras, all little bits and bobs. If someone's prepared to do that, you know, it's scary, man, isn't it? And especially like when people have, you know, when they mention me, like I've had it before where people have mentioned me and they're like, oh, you could be Stinson Hunter. And it's like, I am, dude. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is up? Why are you doing this? Why? And I think the more that parents start to sort of, parents, guardians and kids as well, it's not just on the parents, you know, maybe I sound a bit harsh on the parents, and I apologise if that's how it comes across. But it is down to the kids as well. But it is, as a parent's job, is to educate that kid. And if that kid isn't being educated in the rights and wrongs of the digital age, that kid's not going to know what's right and what's wrong.
If they do sex education, they should do something back.
Exactly, and that's definitely something that needs to be. It needs to be brought into schools. There needs to be a lot. I know there are schools that are bringing these sort of things in now, but there definitely needs to be something more. It needs to be pushed out as a national thing that that kids need to know. They need to know, and that's something I'm working on. But like, I'm one guy. Like, I've had so many ideas that I've wanted to do, but I've had people come along that I've started training up to work with me, and then they've left after 3-4 months, and it's back to square one, pushes everything back, which is why nothing's been done for a year. But it is definitely something that I'm really quite passionate about, and it's definitely something that I'm going to be looking into. Maybe sort of, it was last year, maybe this year, maybe next year. I just want to try and get my little bits and bobs with my TV stuff and whatever else sorted, and then I can sort of go back to that. But I just need to get my life on track. I need to go out there. I need to sort of be working. You know, I need to sort of stop doing everything for everybody else. I need to do a bit for myself, I think. Right, last question. Who wants the last question? You've had enough. I've been. I'll ask. Oh, sorry. You come up to the thing afterwards. We're going to have some questions later.
So basically, somebody I grew up with and then played football and that, but then you know everything else. When you went and caught him, and he was on your film. I want to know why he didn't get arrested. He's disappeared now.
Who?
Can you say?
Yeah, of course you can.
Rob Black, the one who was masturbating at the start. You remember?
Oh wow! You actually recognised him.
Yeah, Glasgow.
Wow, man.
Well, I spoke to him once about when we come out, and I said, that's why you've amazed me, Lord, because we're still in shock. The whole state was in shock.
Wow, man, I didn't even, like, I'd forgotten about that one. Right,
I thought he was the worst one on the show.
Really?
Yeah, I know it's all bad.
Yeah.
But he was actually filming himself.
I don't really know what, like, that wasn't me talking to him, to be honest. I knew very little about that case. Yeah, like, that was the first time I ever saw anything about him.
He's a family friend, grew up with him, you'd never ever think to...
Yeah.
Think
Was he the Rangers supporter? Yeah, that was it. That was it. Because I made it, I was always Rangers, is he? Yeah, I have no idea whatever. I don't know if he was arrested, I don't know if he was, I don't.
His block where his garden is, back on to my mates who was in the army with.
Yeah.
And he was in his garden doing something with the grass or whatever, and my
Yeah.
And then the police went round my mate's house.
Yeah.
And he put on Facebook, how can somebody, paedophile living at the back of me?
Yeah. That's mad. I don't even know what happened. I mean, I can find out. I'll text Stubbsy in a bit. If you come up to the bar afterwards, so I'll try and find out what happened.
Yeah, because he's got
Pardon?
But I know, like 2 months ago, he had his foot amputated, and I seen him in this state.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still on that. I just drove past him.
Oh, I haven't got a clue. That was 3.
Exactly.
That was a long time ago. That, bro. That was a long time.
Yeah, he should have been definitely.
Yeah.
What he did.
I think had he done it now, he would be. But back then, they only prosecuted when someone turned up. A lot's changed now.
Must have been a lot of conversation to get.
I think so. I didn't do the chat. I didn't do any of the chat. It was Stubbsy that was talking. It was mainly Stubbsy that did all the talking. It was hardly ever me that was talking. I'd be the one that organised it all, turn up, speak to them, and do all the other little bits and bobs. So I can find out. I'll text Stubbsy and see if he replies. That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, that's case in point. That's exactly what I've been trying to say. It can be anybody. Yeah. It does. It gets. I've got my ex-girlfriend, ex-fiance's next door neighbour, and like her dad was like, "Oh, is he upsetting the neighbours? Is he?" Sort of thing. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. But I'll try and find out. I'll try and find out whatever happened to him. I'll try because again, like I say, I had little to do with that, like most of them. So yeah, I'll try and find out. Yeah, spot on. Sound. What was your?
You said before that you were thinking about doing more talks.
Yeah.
Is one of them to do with schools?
Definitely, 100% schools. I was trying to get into schools sort of last year, but I realised that I wasn't sort of healthy enough, mentally strong enough at that point to be able to commit to something like that. And I think it'd be quite grueling because it's kids and you have to talk a certain way. I can't talk how I talk to you guys in front of a load of kids because it's not very it wouldn't look very good. But I'm definitely, absolutely 100% looking at trying to get into some schools. It's kind of trying to find the way to approach, because I'll go into a school and I'll try and approach a school and say, "Hi, my name's Stinson Hunter. You might know me as the Paedophile Hunter. I want to come into your school and talk about stuff with your kids, online grooming." Instantly, they're going to think that I'm going to be coming out there going, "Yeah, well, and start blurting off all these things that people say and people do to these kids and online." And it wouldn't be anything like that. But I also think it's important that if you're educating the children, you also need to educate the parents and the guardians. And that's what you've got to try and find, is the nice sort of balance between what is... The Simpsons is a prime example, dual humour. You've got the child humour and you've got the adult humour, but it blends in nicely. And the kids don't get the adult stuff, but the adults get the kids and the adult stuff. And that's kind of what I've got to do with this. I've got to be able to reach two different ages of people, the kids and then the adults, and I've got to be able to reach them at the same time and talk and get them to see on a level where it's not patronising, it's not me talking down to people, it's not me saying, "You should be doing this." It's them being educated and having their eyes opened to it. But it's something that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to work out. And if it's 1 step forward, 5 steps back, with me, like the way everything goes with me, like I get people on board to help me, I get close to getting somewhere with it, and then they just either give up or it's just not working out. It's mainly they give up. They're like, "Oh, well, I'm not making any money out of this, I'm going." That's pretty much what it boils down to. I've got a good group of people around me now that ain't fussed about all that. But yeah, so it's definitely, schools is definitely something I am going to be actively trying to get into. And on that note, I just want to say thank you all so much for coming out. I didn't actually think anyone would turn up. Thought maybe mates would turn up. I didn't think he'd turn up. But he actually forgot until the day before. My dad forgot until about half an hour before I was due to come on here, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not coming." But he's had a lot of shit going on. But this has been really cool. I mean, I don't know how everyone else has felt. you know, but I've really enjoyed it, and it's been an absolute honour to spend however long I've been talking. I'm not even sure. I haven't got a watch. I made a bit of a fatal fundamental error of judgment, not having a timepiece on me. But I genuinely appreciate, honestly and truly, all the time that you've spent hanging out here. And, you know, I'm going to be hanging out at the bar. Is it upstairs, anyone? The bar is upstairs. The bar's upstairs. I'm going to be mooching about there in a little while, so we can kind of carry it on a little bit there, have a little bit of a one-to-one, some pictures. And I don't drink or anything, so I'd appreciate if people don't try and throw beers and alcohol in my way. You know, it's not. I appreciate that maybe one or two might kind of have seen posts and stuff, but I'd appreciate it if, like, you know, donate like £1 to a charity or something. But honestly, truly, thank you, everyone. And no, thanks for everyone that's sort of been helping out. You've got my manager that's hiding up there, and you've got my friends down here that have been helping, and you've got the camera guy that's given up his time to come from Bristol to come and do this, and you've got security, you know, that have come to make sure that it's safe. You know, we've had a few threats and whatnot, and we just had to make sure that everything was safe and everything was spot on, because I wanted this to be enjoyable. I wanted this to be something that wasn't ruined by bellends coming along and mouthing off and trying to act like that their sort of their shit don't stink. And that's what, you know, and I just wanted to make it enjoyable, and I didn't want to let you down. That's the pressure that I always have, is letting people down. And I always seek approval. I constantly seek approval. I constantly seek somebody going, Kieran, Stinson, whatever you want to call me, you know, pat on the back, kind of like little hug, you know, let me know everything's all right, you know. Sometimes I need that little bit of approval because it makes me feel good. I don't look for approval with the big stuff I do, like my work. I'm not fussed about the approval, like that isn't why I do it. But sometimes I do things where I need to feel wanted, I suppose. You know, I'm quite, I don't know, I'm a bit of a weird, and this has been fun, and it's quite emotional, to be fair. Like, I'm quite sort of stuck now. Like, I feel like I've had a really good time with you guys, and I really appreciate it. I'm rambling now because I'm going to walk off, and that's the exit, and I'm a bit nervous about the exit part because, knowing me, I'm going to fall over and break my neck. So, but if you're coming up to the bar, it'd be awesome. I'll be up there in a little while. We can have a little chat and whatever else. I'm going to try and get a smoke if I don't. Yeah. So I'm going to try and go and get myself sorted, get myself beautified, make myself look a bit more presentable for you all. I really, honestly hope you've had a great time, and thank you. Cheers.